February is often painted in crimson and pink, a month devoted to romantic hearts. But love is not only romantic, it's layered and vast. The Greeks gave us words to capture its richness: eros, storge, agape, and philia. And it's philia, the love of friendship, that I want to focus on. In When Calls the Heart, Elizabeth Thornton and Rosemary Coulter embody this beautifully. Once rivals, they grew into sisters of the heart, balancing each other's strengths and standing side by side through grief, motherhood, and frontier life. So while the world celebrates romance, we celebrate the Rosemary to our Elizabeth, a friendship that proves soulmates aren't always suitors, but kindred spirits bound by love's truest form.
Elizabeth, thank you. Thank you. In the middle of all this, you're thinking of us.
And you're thinking of us. It's what we do.
To understand their friendship, we have to go back to the beginning, and boy, was it rocky. When Rosemary Laveau first stepped off that stagecoach in Cole Valley, she wasn't there to make friends. She was there to reclaim her man, Jack Thornton.
I'm Elizabeth Thatcher.
Rosemary Laveau.
And what brings you here?
My fiancé.
Jack.
Oh, there he is now! Jack!
Talk about an entrance. This is what I call the rivalry phase. Let me tell you, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a mountain saber. Elizabeth had finally found her place in this frontier town and fallen for the handsome constable, only to have this glamorous actress from New York waltz in and announce she was Jack's fiancée. The jealousy, the hurt, the drama, it was all there. Elizabeth was the proper teacher, and Rosemary was the theatrical threat. But you know what? It is so worth watching this episode just to see how far these two women have come. They went from being on opposite sides of a romantic battlefield to becoming each other's most trusted confidant. They traded the ex-fiancé drama for a lifelong sisterhood and became the heart of Hope Valley.
Despite whatever has passed between us, I wish you all the best.
And I you.
Elizabeth didn't know what to make of her at first. But what she didn't realize is that Rosemary made a choice that changed the landscape of Hope Valley forever. Rosemary realized that Jack and Elizabeth weren't just a couple. They were a destiny. In that moment, she chose grace over bitterness. She didn't leave town in defeat. She stayed to build a life on her own terms. This was the birth of their mutual respect. You see, Rosemary didn't just step aside. She chose to support the very relationship that broke her heart. That takes a rare kind of character, the kind that serves as the foundation for a lifelong friendship. But what Elizabeth didn't know then was that Rosemary wasn't just staying for a new start. She was becoming the person Elizabeth would eventually need the most. Sometimes your greatest soulmate isn't a suitor, she's a kindred spirit.
Hello. How's it all going?
It's coming along great. Still needs work, but don't you worry. The attention to detail is just stunning.
Fast forward to Elizabeth and Jack's wedding day. And who is orchestrating the entire affair? Rosemary. Now, let's be real. She goes a bit overboard. She is extra in every sense of the word. But beneath the layers of silk and the mountain of logistics, her motivation is pure love. By this point, Rosemary is happily married to Lee Coulter, a man who finally matches her vibrant spirit. Because she is so secure in her own love story, she can pour everything into Elizabeth's. Think about the beauty in that full circle. Years earlier, Elizabeth had stood by Rosemary's side as her maid of honor. Now, the woman who once envisioned herself at the end of the aisle with Jack is the one making sure his wedding to Elizabeth is absolutely perfect. This moment proves that Rosemary's friendship isn't just about showing up, it's about going all in. She didn't just accept Elizabeth's happiness, she championed it. That is the true definition of philia, when a friend celebrates your joy as if it were their very own.
Elizabeth, when Jack catches sight of you walking down the aisle, he's going to think he is in heaven.
It was a wedding that felt like a fairy tale come true, a moment of pure, golden happiness that seemed untouchable. Elizabeth Thornton, the town schoolteacher, had married the man she loved, mounted Jack Thornton in front of the entire Hope Valley community. For fans, it was the kind of joy you want to freeze in time. But fairy tales don't always stay suspended in life. Jack is later killed in the line of duty, and the life Elizabeth built shatters overnight. Hope Valley, a small town where everyone shares each other's joys and sorrows, falls into collective mourning. Yet grief doesn't stop daily life. The children still need their teacher. The schoolhouse doors still have to open. And that's where Rosemary steps in. Rosemary Coulter, the town's former actress-turned-newspaper editor, understands that Elizabeth isn't just sad, she's drowning. Words won't fix that. Sympathy won't fix that. So instead of offering empty comfort, Rosemary takes action. She takes over the classroom. Why does that matter so much? Because the schoolhouse isn't just Elizabeth's job. It's her calling. It's the place where she found purpose, independence, and a sense of belonging when she first arrived in Hope Valley. Teaching is the center of her identity. By stepping into that space, Rosemary isn't just filling a vacancy. She's protecting the part of Elizabeth that grief threatens to erase. It's her unspoken promise. I will hold this together until you can stand again. And that promise carries even more weight when you remember how their relationship began. Rosemary once came to town as Elizabeth's rival, dramatic, competitive, larger than life. The two women clashed, misunderstood each other, and circled the same spaces with tension. Yet in Elizabeth's darkest season, rivalry disappears. What remains is loyalty. Rosemary doesn't need applause. She doesn't need recognition. She simply makes sure that when Elizabeth finally finds the strength to walk back through those schoolhouse doors, the life she loves is still there, intact, protected, waiting. That's not just friendship. That's devotion in action. For a long time, Elizabeth was the one being carried. After losing her husband, grief settled over her life like a storm cloud that wouldn't move. And it was Rosemary who stood beside her through it. She was the friend who showed up, who filled the silence with warmth, who quietly held Elizabeth together when everything felt like it was falling apart. But friendships that last aren't built on one person always being the strong one. Eventually, the balance shifts, and we begin to see a different side of Rosemary. Behind her bright humor and theatrical confidence, Rosemary has been carrying a private heartbreak, the fear that she may never be able to have a child.
Me too.
Rosemary, what is it?
Elizabeth, there's something I haven't told you. I don't think I can have children.
Are you sure? Maybe it just hasn't happened yet.
I think it would have happened by now, if something wasn't wrong.
I'm here for you.
You've already done so much. Every day.
And in that moment, the roles reverse. Elizabeth becomes the steady one, the listener, the anchor. This is what real friendship looks like. Not a permanent rescue, not a one-sided act of strength, but a rhythm. One person holds the other, and then, when the tide turns, they switch, each taking a turn being the safe place to land. Elizabeth understands longing. She understands what it means to ache for a future that suddenly feels uncertain. So when Rosemary shares her fear, Elizabeth doesn't try to fix it. She simply stays. And sometimes, staying is the most powerful thing a friend can do. The show treats this chapter of their lives with extraordinary tenderness. Through Rosemary and her husband Lee, we watch a couple face the quiet grief of infertility, and through Elizabeth, we see what it means to stand beside someone without trying to rush their healing. It's not just a storyline about loss. It's a portrait of friendship at its deepest level. Two women taking turns being brave for each other. And then, after years of waiting, after fertility struggles, after considering adoption, after moments where hope felt dangerously thin, the miracle finally arrives. Rosemary gives birth to her daughter, Marigold. They call her Goldie, a tribute to Rosemary's mother, and a name that feels like sunlight after a long winter. For fans, this episode is pure payoff. Seasons of longing lead to this single moment. For so long, Elizabeth had been the only mother in their friendship. Now, at last, they step into motherhood side by side. And when Rosemary goes into labor, Elizabeth is exactly where you'd expect her to be, right there. The whole town rallies around the Coulters as they wait for baby Goldie's late arrival. But it's Elizabeth who stands at Rosemary's shoulder, steady and calm. It mirrors every moment Rosemary once showed up for her. After Jack's death, when Elizabeth discovered she was pregnant, through those exhausting early months of raising little Jack alone, their history folds into the present. Support given becomes support returned. Later, as the reality of newborn life settles in, Rosemary confides a fear many new mothers carry, but rarely say out loud. What if she isn't enough? What if she fails? Elizabeth, drawing from her own hard-earned experience, doesn't dismiss the fear. She meets it gently and reassures her friend that love, not perfection, is what makes a good mother. They share a quiet truth between them. Motherhood isn't meant to be carried alone. Elizabeth reminds her that a huge part of raising children is mothers holding each other up. Rosemary realizes in that moment that she isn't just surrounded by neighbors, she's surrounded by family. And that realization captures the heart of their bond. They're no longer simply friends who live in the same town. They're sisters by choice. The kind of family built not by blood, but by years of showing up in grief, in hope, in birth, in fear, again and again, without hesitation. And these are just the big moments. Elizabeth and Rosemary have shared years of smaller, quieter acts of sisterhood that don't always make the headlines, but matter just as much. I focused on the milestones here, the events that shaped them, but their friendship lives in the everyday choices to show up for each other. In the laughs, the tears, the advice, the I've got you moments that keep stacking up season after season. That's why their bond feels so real. They didn't just become friends in Hope Valley. They became family. And I want to hear from you. What's your favorite Elizabeth and Rosemary moment? Drop it in the comments. And if you love celebrating the friendships of Hope Valley as much as I do, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.